Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from Germany, German and English language with English subtitles, released in the year 2024, directed by Tilman Singer, and this film is called Cuckoo. So Cuckoo is set in the Bavarian Alps in Germany. We have this centre that is run by a very peculiar man. We realise that a family from the United States have actually moved over to Germany because the father of this family is going to help rebuild and put extensions on this centre. So when the family get there, we realise that there was a tragic event that occurred in the past that has really torn up the main character of the older daughter. So the older daughter is trying to come to terms with her new life, but she doesn't like it. She's very uncomfortable. So the man who runs this centre tells her that she can have a job on the desk at a hotel. But this is where things become increasingly strange because the guests at this hotel are suffering from mysterious illnesses that seem to be getting more and more intense. So the more she asks questions, the more she's pushed away, which in turn intensifies her curiosity to the point where she realises that things are not what they seem. And so what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Cuckoo. Finally I got the opportunity to watch this movie. I'd seen the trailers for so long, I'd heard mixed results about this movie for so long, and I just really wanted to see it. And so initially I was very excited, but then after watching Tilman Singer's film Luz, I was a little bit skeptical. Luz was a very creative film, it was a very atmospheric film, but it was full of self-indulgence. And so that ruined the experience for me. I've actually reviewed that, so if you haven't seen that review, please go and see it for yourself. That was a film that I thought had a lot of ability, but a lot of potential, but it just lost itself in its, basically, in its arrogance and in that self-indulgence. And so what was Cuckoo going to produce? I was still excited because I just wanted to see this movie for so long, but after seeing Tilman Singer's other film, I thought to myself, alright, well I'm going to go in there with hesitations. I'm going to go in there with giving this movie every opportunity to impress me, but not going in there with it being overhyped. And so I had fingers crossed that this was going to be worth the effort, but as I said, I had that scared sort of hesitation based on the fact that I've been burnt by this director before. But thankfully, Cuckoo was a much better film because it does stay clear of that self-indulgence and it just revels in its insanity. This is a very strange film, and that's one thing I really like about this director. Luz was very strange and atmospheric, and Cuckoo is no different. This is an incredibly atmospheric film that I thought really seeps under the viewer's skin, and I just thought it worked really well. There were issues that I had with it, but thankfully nowhere near as many issues as I had with Luz. And so to start off with, as I said, it's the creative nature that Tilman Singer produces that really makes this movie worth the effort. This is a film where it does have a lot of curiosity because of the questions that it poses, and then as each question is answered, it starts to have that snowball effect, and this is a very difficult thing to do, and unfortunately Luz really failed to do that, but Cuckoo really understands what it is to actually keep the audience on the end and basically keep them on the edge of their seat. Luz, I thought the runtime in Luz and the continuity was very stagnant, and so that movie really failed to have you on the edge of your seat, but this movie follows a more traditional storyline, and so I thought that was really good. You know, creativity is good to a point, but then you do have to have some sense of familiarity in order to keep that viewer watching, and so Luz really failed to do that, but thankfully Cuckoo really succeeds in doing that. And so that is because of the intense environment that this movie is set in, the beautiful Bavarian Alps, but then there's something wrong, there's something very sinister, and that's where the atmosphere really kicks into gear. Through the soundtrack and through the way that the camera is used, I thought there was a sense of impending doom. You don't know what that doom is, but you want to know. And so the movie does pose those questions, the movie does pose that interest to keep you from start to finish without actually looking at your watch, and so that was something that I was very thankful for. I thought the performances were great. Dan Stevens as this man who runs this Bavarian sort of facility, I thought he was very strange, he was very off, and so the whole film has characters that are very off. It almost feels like it's a different dimension, and that's something that is the trademark of this director, and it's the reason why this director is very exciting, and I'll really look forward to seeing what he can actually produce in the future. And so it's a film that not only has a very bizarre atmosphere, but it also has some really uncomfortable scenes. I thought there was one scene in particular where this main character is riding a bike at night. I'm not going to give anything else away, but I thought that was one of the most effective horror scenes that I've seen in a very, very long time. So the director really knows how to use those horror set pieces in a way that it just continues to build momentum. And then right at the end, it goes absolutely crazy. And so that was definitely, I felt as though that was a really good reward for all of the unnerving sort of psychological suspense that the movie manages to create. So that sense of anticipation is very well rewarded at the end. And I just thought as though this was much more of a complete film than his last movie. And so if you are a fan of Tillman Singer, Cuckoo is definitely one I would recommend, as there are very, very strange occurrences that go on in this film. It is creative in the way it tells its story, but as I said, it has that slight sense of familiarity that prevents the audience from being lost. It prevents the audience from really disconnecting because, as I said, it's got that creativity mixed in with that formula that has been done before. And so if it sounds like your kind of thing, I'd highly recommend you go out there and check out Cuckoo. If I had issues with this film, I didn't really care about any of the characters. I thought as though they were a little bit too off-putting, a little bit too strange to fully connect to them. So the plot I didn't really care about. It was much more of a situational sort of aspect that this movie has. I thought as though I wanted to know what was going on as opposed to really caring for these people. The main character I didn't like as much. I thought as though she was a little bit self-centered. Yes, she had a traumatic past, but I just thought as the way that she dealt with things, I just thought, as I said, very off-putting. And so that film has that creative sense, but the creative sense can actually work against it because you never fully gravitate to these characters as human beings. You always feel as though you're watching a caricature sort of other dimension take place. But it's that other dimension that is very interestingly done. I thought the cinematography, as I said, very beautiful looking in the Bavarian Alps. The movie does have some pretty nasty violence, but it's few and far between. It really wants to work on its atmosphere, and atmospherically I definitely feel as though Tillman Singer really knows what he's doing. So it's a crazy, crazy movie with a really crazy ending, but as I said, it just felt as though it was a little bit empty because I didn't really get that three-dimensional character sense that I really wanted, and that would have made this movie absolutely brilliant. But pushing that aside, it's still a very good movie that I'd highly recommend. Definitely a step above Luz, and as a result of that, I'm going to give Cuckoo 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, watching movies, and I'll see you later.